All right, today we're going to tackle a really tough question about higher education. And it's not about whether universities are trying to keep up with AI. The real question is much deeper. Is their entire structure, their very DNA, actually built to fail in this new era? So let me just ask you this straight up. That degree you worked so hard for, or maybe the one you're working on right now, is it possible it's already out of date? I know, it's a pretty jarring thought, right? But it's at the absolute heart of what we need to talk about. And look, this isn't some problem for, 10 years down the road. The World Economic Forum is saying that a whopping 40% of us will need to reskill in the next 3 years. 3 years. That's not a decade from now. That's faster than it takes to even get a degree. This incredible speed is putting our entire education system under a microscope. Okay, so let's think about this like a doctor making a diagnosis. The symptoms are pretty clear, but what's the underlying disease? The thing is, the university system isn't sick because of a lack of trying. It's sick because it's a system that was built for a slow, predictable world, and suddenly it's trying to survive in the age of warp speed. And that diagnosis, the core condition here, is what we're calling structural obsolescence. It's just a fundamental mismatch between the slow, plodding, bureaucratic DNA of a university and the explosive, exponential speed of AI. It's like one is on a sundial and the other is on a quantum clock. They are just not in sync. And this, right here, this is the absolute heart of the problem. For hundreds of years, a university's greatest strength was its stability. It was a fortress of knowledge, right? But in the age of AI, that very strength, its stability, has now become its greatest weakness. The world doesn't reward stability anymore. It rewards crazy fast adaptation and hyper-specialized skills that might not have even existed 6 months ago. So what's the first major symptom of this disease? Well, it's a massive, catastrophic time lag. I mean, we're talking rocket ship versus snail here. The gap is just enormous. Just look at this timeline. It lays out the problem perfectly. So for a university to get a new program approved, we're talking, what, up to 2 years? Maybe even more? In that exact same amount of time, the AI industry can push out 2 or 3 entirely new generations of its technology. So by the time the very first student enrolls, the skills they're about to learn are already, well, they're history. And that time lag leads to a pretty devastating conclusion. As the source material puts it, higher education is, and I quote, perpetually training the workforce for the previous frontier. Think about that. They're always teaching for the last battle, not the one we're in right now. So what's the anchor that's holding this whole slow system down? Well, a lot of it comes down to a 120-year-old idea called the Carnegie Unit. It's this idea that we measure learning based on seat time, literally how many hours you spend sitting in a classroom, not what you can actually do. This is why semesters are locked into these rigid 15-week blocks. You can't just drop in a new module in week 4 when some new AI tool makes the whole syllabus obsolete. The entire system is built on a calendar, not on competence. But wait, it's not just about time. The second major problem is a huge resource chasm, and I mean a chasm of money and pure, raw computing power. Get ready for this number, $100 million. And that's just the starting price to train a single top-of-the-line AI model. That's not for a whole research department, that's for one model, one time. This chart really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? That tiny little bar on the left, that's a pretty generous university grant. It is absolutely dwarfed by the cost of building a frontier AI model. Academia isn't just losing this race. They can't even afford a ticket to get into the stadium. So what's the bottom line for students? What does this actually mean for you? It means you're learning to be a commentator on the game instead of being a player on the field. You graduate without the most valuable skills, like knowing how to handle these massive petascale data pipelines or working with the huge computer clusters that actually build modern AI. Okay, so this brings us to the third big problem, a crisis of human capital. It's about the people. The system is hemorrhaging the very experts it needs to teach the next generation. Yeah, these numbers really tell the story, don't they? You see that little slice? Only 17% of faculty say they're at an expert level with AI. Meanwhile, students are using it every single day. That creates a huge disconnect in the classroom, where sometimes the students are way more fluent with the new tools than the professors. And let's be clear, this is not the fault of the professors. It's the system. A staggering 94% of them say they just don't have enough training resources. 80% say there's no clear direction from the institution. They just don't have the time, the tools, or the support from the top to keep up. And while all this is happening, you've got the AI brain drain kicking into high gear. Industry isn't just offering these massive salaries. I mean, they are, but honestly, more importantly, they get unlimited access to the computers and the data they need to do groundbreaking work. The best and the brightest are leaving because that's the only place they can actually build the future. So, okay, that was a pretty bleak diagnosis. Is there a cure? Is there a treatment plan? The thinking is yes, but it's not a simple fix. It means tearing down the old building to its foundations and starting over. So the prescription boils down to 3 key steps. First, to fix that time lag, you have to deconstruct the 4-year degree into smaller, stackable modules you can update on the fly. Second, to fix the old school metrics, you've got to move away from seat time and start certifying actual demonstrated skills. And third, to speed the whole thing up, you need a fast-track approval process for topics like AI that are moving at lightning speed. It's a total redesign. What this all really means is we have to completely rethink what higher education is. The goal can't be this static, one-and-done piece of paper anymore. The future isn't a one-time purchase. It's got to be a dynamic subscription to knowledge and skills that you're constantly updating throughout your entire life. And that leaves us with one last massive question. Faced with its own obsolescence, is higher education going to find the courage to redesign itself for this new world? Or is it going to become a relic? And honestly, the answer to that is going to define not just the future of work, but the future of your career.